You know that specific moment on payday, before the spending starts, before the bills are paid, before the groceries are bought, before anyone else has made a claim on the number, when the investment transfer goes out first. Not what's left, not what survived the month, not the number that remained after everything else had already taken its share. The first number. The one that moves before the account has been touched for anything else, before the decision about what to spend has even been made. The brokerage account receives it the same morning it always has, the same way it always does, before the day has asked for anything else and before the spending has begun. While somewhere else, someone opens the same paycheck with every intention of investing after everything is covered, and finds, at the end of the month, that everything was covered and nothing remained. Here is what almost nobody calculates about investing what's left over. There is almost never anything left over. Not because the income isn't enough, not always, but because spending expands to fill whatever space is available. A dinner that cost more than planned, a purchase that felt small at the time, a subscription renewed without noticing, a week where every individual decision seemed reasonable and the total did not. And the investment that was supposed to happen at the end of that month gets postponed. Not canceled, postponed. Until next month, when something similar will happen, and the month after that, when the intention remains completely intact and the transfer does not. The difference between investing first and investing what's left is not, in any given month, a large number. It is often the difference between
$500 and nothing, between $200 and nothing, between the smallest consistent amount and a month that passed without leaving anything behind. Compounded across a decade, that difference is not small anymore. It is the difference between a portfolio that has been growing for 10 years and one that was always about to start. Someone who invests $500 a month for 30 years, starting at 30, arrives at 60 with a fundamentally different number than someone who invests the same amount for 20 years, starting at 40, even with more urgency. The 10 years that passed without investing cannot be recovered by investing harder later. And the amount does not have to be large for the principal to hold. Someone who moves $100 before anything else every single month for 10 years without missing a month arrives at a number that the person who intended to invest $500 when things settle down will not have. Nobody explains this at the moment the paycheck arrives and the spending begins. You only meet it later, quietly, in the arithmetic of a decade, when every month that passed without investing cannot be undone, and the compound interest that didn't start doesn't begin. There is a name for why spending always feels more urgent than investing. Behavioral economists call it temporal discounting. Research by Richard Thaler, who received the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2017 for his work on behavioral finance, showed that people systematically value immediate rewards far more than equivalent future rewards. The brain does not treat $1 today and $1 in 10 years as the same thing, even when the numbers suggest they should be. Spending today is immediate. The reward is now. The pleasure is now. The cost is later. Investing today reverses that entirely. The cost is now. The reward is decades away. And the brain is not built to feel the future with the same intensity it feels the present. Investing before spending removes this calculation from the moment it is most vulnerable, before the spending has activated the brain's preference for the immediate, before the account balance looks like money available to use. But the timing isn't the whole story. There is a second force, the one that makes investing first feel slightly antisocial, slightly rigid. The cultural script is consistent. Invest what you have left after living your life. The investment is the destination of the surplus, not the first obligation of the income.
Someone who moves money to a brokerage account before paying for dinner is not financially disciplined. They are, in most social contexts, someone who needs to relax a little. Investing first is not rigidity. It is recognizing that the surplus has never reliably existed and building a system that does not depend on it. And the research confirms what the order already knew. Failer and Benartzi's Save More Tomorrow study found that people who automated investment contributions before any discretionary spending accumulated significantly more wealth over time than people with identical incomes and identical intentions who invested manually at the end of each month. The difference was not discipline. It was architecture. The money moved before the decision had to be made. 3 forces. A brain that values today at twice the rate it values tomorrow. A culture that treats investment as the destination of whatever survives. And a number, every decade, quietly proving that the order was the only thing that actually mattered. It was there the year the salary increased. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. And instead of expanding the spending to absorb the difference, the way it always had in the years before, the investment increased first, by the same proportion as the raise, before the spending had a chance to adjust upward to fill the new space. The spending remained approximately what it had been. The portfolio began growing at a rate it hadn't before, from money that had previously just been absorbed. It was there the conversation with someone who had invested consistently for 20 years and arrived at a number that had stopped feeling like savings and started feeling like options. Options about when to work, how to work, what kind of work still made sense to do, and the realization that the number had been built not from unusually high income or unusually lucky timing, but from unusually consistent order, the investment leaving first, every month, before anything else had made a claim on the payday. It was there the month the market dropped significantly, and every headline suggested the moment had passed, the opportunity was gone, and the investment transfer went out anyway, on the first of the month, the same as always, because the order was not about what the market was doing, it was about what the month was doing. It was there, in the specific, quiet clarity of a spending conversation that started from what remained after investing, not from what was earned, not from what was available, but from what the investment had already left behind, and the way that constraint, over time, had stopped feeling like a constraint at all. These are not people who never spend on things they enjoy. Most of them live well within what they earn, not because they earn unusually large amounts, but because the investment comes first and the spending happens in whatever space remains. Some of them have a smaller discretionary budget than people who earn less than they do. The order changes what the budget means. They are the person who, asked why they don't just invest at the end of the month like everyone else, gives a mechanism instead of a philosophy. Something close to this. Because at the end of the month, there's never anything left. I tried that for 3 years. The investment happened in the months when I remembered and felt disciplined, which was not most months. That is not someone who has unusual willpower. That is someone who understood early enough that willpower was never the right tool for something that needed to happen every single month without exception, and replaced it with a system that required none. They do not think about whether to invest this month. The question was answered once, a long time ago, and the transfer has been confirming the answer every single payday since. Not because the discipline never wavers, but because the system does not require the discipline to show up. It runs whether or not this particular month is a good one for thinking clearly about long-term financial priorities. And the next time someone suggests investing whatever is left, that experience already has the answer ready. Now, finally, the objection. I need to cover my expenses first. If I invest before I spend, I might not have enough for the basics. It only makes sense once you earn enough. This is not about people whose income doesn't stretch far enough to invest yet.
If that's where you are, nothing here is meant to make a genuine constraint feel like a personal failure. It isn't one. This is about people who could spend it all and decided the investment came out first, every single time, before the spending had a chance to use it. The difference is not income, it is order. Two people can earn the same amount and arrive at completely different numbers in 10 years, not because one earned more, but because one decided what came first. And the amount carries less weight than the objection assumes. The research on automated investing is consistent. The single variable that predicts long-term investment outcomes better than amount, timing, or market selection is consistency. The investor who puts the same number in every month, regardless of what the market is doing or how the month feels, outperforms the investor who puts in more when conditions feel right and less or nothing when they don't. The system does not require a large income. It requires the investment to be the first line in the budget, not the last. The people who never spend before investing are not depriving themselves. They are simply refusing to make the future's money available to the present, simply because everyone else spends first and saves what survives, without ever noticing that what survives is almost always nothing. Here's what most people get backwards. The person who waits until the end of the month to invest is not living more freely. They are simply giving the spending the first claim on every paycheck and handing the investment whatever remains, which is structurally almost certain to be less than intended. The person who invests first reversed that claim. The investment takes its share before the spending begins. The spending happens in whatever remains, and it turns out, month after month, year after year, that it is enough. Not because the spending is miserly, but because spending from what remains after investing is in practice not that different from spending from what remains after any other first obligation. It just feels different before you've done it long enough to stop noticing the difference. Most people invest what spending leaves behind. These people spend what investing leaves behind. And the person who built that order is not rigid. They simply decided that the future was not going to wait for the present to finish deciding what it needed first. There is a moment people who have been investing first for years all describe in almost the same way. It is not the first month the investment
went out before anything else. It is not the year the portfolio crossed a number that felt significant. It is an ordinary payday, opening the banking app to confirm the transfer went through and noticing that it did, the same as it always does, before anything else had moved, before anyone else had made a claim on the number. And feeling, in that specific, unremarkable confirmation, something close to nothing, which is exactly what it should feel like when a decision made a long time ago is simply continuing to run the way it was designed to. Not satisfaction, not discipline, just the quiet, ordinary confirmation that the order is holding, the same as it has every month for however many months it has been running. The investment was never the point. The order was. 10 years from now, nobody asks how much you invested. They ask whether you ever let the spending decide what was left for everything else. Do you invest before you spend? And has anyone ever made you feel like putting it first was the wrong call? Drop it below. We read every single one.